welcome back to Geek Shop. Joining me, I'm Chetan. Joining me today is Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
We're going to do that all day,
Chris,
aren't
I know, it's going to be, the whole episode's going to be that.
we? Yeah.
So, Chris, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about cheating. So
Cheating?
Cheating in art. Like, can you cheat in art? Is it possible to cheat in art? Or is
I was going to ask, let me see your hands. Do you have notes on them?
Yeah, exactly. So this comes about because I have been on several occasions been accused of cheating using certain tools. It's as if some tools are allowed to be used in art and other tools are not.
So before you go into detail, what was the accusations?
Oh, the most common one I get is people see my drawing table and say, "You have rulers." You're not allowed to use
rulers?
Yeah, I use rulers. You know.
But rulers is not cheating.
That's some people think that all artists can draw a perfectly straight line, just like that.
Really?
Yes, I've been.
Wow, if using rulers is cheating, then wow.
Yeah, and then and then you can get to more crazy things like circle templates and French curves and all kinds of inking implements that allow you to make like perfect circles.
Now, just go into detail about that question. Now, were you accused of cheating where you're at now? Chris currently lives in an Asian country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Canada. So, is it an Asian country that they said, hey, that's cheating? Or was it North American culture?
It was both. I've been accused in both. I'll be honest. This is
not
really?
Okay.
This is not a one-time thing. I've been accused several times of cheating. Using a ruler in lots of countries and lots of people. Like I'd say, this isn't like a one-time thing. People would look at it and go, "I didn't realize artists use rulers." And at the time, I was doing some painting too. I've been accused taping off painting stuff. I've been accused of cheating. You know, if you're painting something and you use tape as a mask.
No, the reason I asked that question is I was wondering if it's a cultural thing where, certain, countries, like say Asian cultures and stuff might say, you know what, try drawing, just go at it, don't use any tool. Well, I mean, you have to use tools really, but,
Exactly. So it's like it gets to a point when it's like when you're talking about like cheating, again, using a ruler is one example, but it's like it gets to a point when it's like, so then what tool isn't cheating? Like, so suddenly maybe using like Pigma microns is cheating and you have to use a dip pen.
Or a feather.
Exactly, a feather. Oh my God, yeah. You can't use metal stuff. That's cheating.
Yeah.
You have to use a stick dipped in ink that you blended out of blueberries.
Yes.
Or you're cheating. It's like so. But I've been accused.
And no paper. You have to paint it on cave walls.
Cave walls, of course, yeah. And you have to stone, and you have to mix your own ink and everything like. So yeah, it's odd, but I've been accused.
That is odd. That is odd. I've never heard of that.
So, have you ever been accused of sort of like people look at you and go, "Wow, I didn't know you used tools like."
No, no, not really. Only time I've been told. This is going back when computers were coming in, saying graphics programs and Photoshop and things like that. Why are you using the computer to do this and that? It's that old school versus the new technology.
Yeah, I mean today that's gone because like people do entire comics on Procreate and nobody.
That's
cares.
it. Yes.
So
that's the only thing that I wasn't accused of cheating or anything like that, but I did feel guilty personally when I started. Me, I used to use a lot of screen tones.
Yeah.
And old school screen tones. Then when I went into digital, it just felt bad. Just like this is yes. I said I did felt like I was cheating.
Okay. Yeah, the other way that I've been sort of accused of cheating, and I think this is probably a common one amongst comic book artists, is when you start adding photographs to the mix. So
But all of us have done that.
so like either using it as a reference, tracing, tracing photographs. What do you think about that?
Tracing photographs, we had this big debate. I remember when I was in art college, and some people said, depends on what you do with the photograph at the end. You know, is the end result. You're not completely just, you know, um, the common thing. Airbrush artists have been known to, trace photos and, just airbrush and make it look polished and nice and stuff. So, for me, it's a I don't know. I'm in between on that one.
Yeah, for me, it's I think like sometimes I will even take a pose and take a picture of myself and then like put like blue orchid into it. And obviously, I'm not I'm not tracing every finger and everything like that. I'm sort of
Yeah.
making it my own.
And to be honest, all of us have been guilty of that where, certain things, yeah, you do that. But even I'm thinking of an artist, Alex Ross.
Yeah,
Have you seen him? Yeah, like he has action figures. He has people posing and stuff.
he
But
puts
I don't
costumes.
know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So technically, is that cheating?
Yeah, you see, this is definitely gray area. I mean, you even said you've been felt guilty about it, so it's like it's part of it is what your conscience allows you to do. You know.
But
Uh,
because you're taught the your mindset is taught the old way, saying do it this way, that way, and as soon as you have again that word a new tool, you
yeah.
know you think you're cheating. It's like digital painting. Is that cheating?
Yeah, I don't think so. But photographs
But you're
different.
not. But you're not using paints. But photographs, yes, same thing with photographs. But again, it depends on the artist because we talked about this before. Where I remember John Byrne, Jack Kirby using photographs in the backgrounds of their art, and doing collages and stuff like that. John Tottleman did that.
Yeah,
So personally, I think here's how I'll justify a tool in a lazy artist is a bad thing, but with a good artist, they could do amazing work with it.
I feel like the rule is you can trace and use photographs if you can kind of make it your own.
That's it. Yes.
If it's jarring, like if all like I've seen a few comic books, like every once in a while you see something and it's very comic booky, and then you get to like the pinup, and it's just this like super uber realistic thing, and you're like, they
Yes, that's
obviously
it.
traced that, and it's
That's
sort of
it.
like,
Yes.
why couldn't you have traced it? Like you can use the pose from something, but like keep the momentum of the art
But
style going.
but that goes to also when you just mentioned photographs, comic artists and real artists. I mean, I hate to take that word away, real artists, painters and stuff like that. They, in the old ways, in the old school days, for let's say a portrait artist, you'd have that person sitting there and you're doing a portrait. Then
Yeah,
later on, they start taking pictures, and doing portraits off of that. So where do you draw the line?
I
And even comic artists, someone like Jack Kirby, I don't think used photo reference. If he did, more credit to him. But then there's artists, what's his name, Chris Bacalo, who did Shade and X-Men and stuff. I've seen him. He was talking about taking photographs for references and stuff like that. And a
yeah
lot of artists, old artists had file cabinets of reference files,
yeah the Mort
and
files.
yeah, and some people had Polaroids or we're dating ourselves and cameras or take poses like we talked about Alex Ross,
Yep.
then draw from that. So where do you draw the line and say this is wrong, that's wrong? But again, like you said, that tool in that person's hand, he or she, what they produce in the end, will give that result. And like you said, where page one has a Sergio Aragonés style, the next page has Alex Ross style. It's like come on, And
Yeah.
sad thing is, I have seen artists do that, and you go. And the worst part is when you see the reference and you go, "Hey, that's that actress or that actor,"
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that goes to the second part of the question about using photographs as reference. Like one of the things I try and do with a lot of my stuff for photo reference is I take the photo.
That's
So it's
the and that's another thing I was going to say. Where if you're taking your own photos and stuff, I think there's more freedom to it. Where if
yep.
you're just copying, there are swipe artists known to swipe over people's artwork and photographs and stuff like that, and basically just trace it directly.
Yeah, and that's definitely like if you're just tracing there's a certain area where you can get away with it if it's an homage, like an homage to their art,
Yes,
and like or you're doing like a parody type thing, and you might sort of use it as a reference and trace it a little bit or whatever. Then I think you can get away with it a little bit more there, like where it's like it's obviously from something else. Like particularly if it's a good example, you could take that Todd McFarlane Spider-Man cover and put your own character in there, and if you're doing like a mock TikTok Tom in that pose would be hilarious,
and so many people have done that. So
including
and
Todd
it's
McFarlane himself. Spawn One.
yes,
It's
Spawn
just that.
One. Yes,
It's
that's
just
the
that
same
Spider-Man
pose.
cover. So I
But
think
going
that
back to what you said, what the photos, like using it for backgrounds and stuff, and first time I remember seeing that was in a Fantastic Four issue with John Byrne. And John Byrne used buildings in the background.
yeah, sometimes you use
And
it and they would photocopy them out, like they would sort of
that's it.
blast out the
Yeah.
detail, and then it would just be like this like really rough photocopy looking thing. So
But on the other hand, do you call it as a lazy artist or do you call that creative? And, again, it's a thin line. But I personally think, you know what? If it makes your artwork better and if it makes the story better, overall book better, more to you.
And I think you have to make it your own. Like you have to do something to it. I mean, with the exception, I think we talked about this when we were planning this episode. But I'm doing a comic book right now, a Blue Orchid issue, where I'm using just photos for backgrounds, like specifically photograph backgrounds. So I'm drawing my characters into photographs, so I'm not changing it in any way. And it's just for a short story, but it's just sort of like an experimental thing I'm doing. I took all the photos myself, so it's not like I'm stealing pictures off the internet or anything like that. But I think no matter what, it has to work in the style of your comic book, and it has to you have to like make it your own. Like even if you're using somebody else's photograph like a reference, like I think we've all gone on Google and particularly for Blue Orchid for her fighting poses, I look up like kung fu movies and stuff
Oh,
like that.
same here. Same here.
So and I'll see a pose and I'll sort of sketch it out and figure it out, but it's like. I think you have to make it your own enough. Like you have to pull it enough far away from the original to be able to sort of like work it in there to be able to work.
Yes.
The other time I think I've never done it, but I could see myself excusing myself for it would be if I was having a celebrity or somebody famous making a cameo in my comic book. For copyright reasons, let's say somebody like Abraham Lincoln. If I wanted Blue Orchid to meet Abraham Lincoln, then I might take pictures of Abraham Lincoln and trace them, just because I'm not a great portrait artist. And I think also too, there's some famous pictures of Lincoln that would like make him instantly recognizable for the story.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And so then I might do that. So that's another reason why I think and there's been a few times I've seen in comic books where it has been like a historical figure, like a president, and you can tell like the style is a little different than the artist has done it, and you're like,
Artist
okay,
is yeah.
like because there's a few comics like where they meet presidents or famous people, and
Yeah.
like you can tell it's like a little bit there must be some tracing going on there, or at least heavily referenced. So
Yes.
there is an excuse for that, I think. So as far as cheating goes, like I mean, we're going to avoid the main subject of what people consider cheating in art, which is the hot topic of today. But like is there technology changing and everything like that? Do you think there's like, is there any time when an artist could be considered cheating? Is it possible, like, to be cheating?
Well, yeah. Again, the let's go on the comic book artist approach. The old school way was using tracing papers, overlays, and photocopies. Now you have
Yeah.
computers, Photoshop.
Yeah.
You have Clip Studio Paint and other programs, and you have AI also. So now it's It depends. Again, it depends on the artist and the tool. What they do,
Yeah.
what he or she does with it. But I have a question for you, cheating
Okay.
wise, and this is going
Hmm.
back to the old 1940s days. Fleischer
Okay.
cartoons,
Hmm.
Superman cartoons. Is that considered
Yes.
cheating?
Like the tracing of the people and everything like that.
Yes. Yeah.
If it
And
is,
and
then
you're an animator, so that's the perfect person to ask.
so if you actually you can look this up online. A lot of the dancing for like Snow White in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was an
I
actress.
I do
Alice
remember
Alice in
that.
Wonderland was an actress.
Yes, I do
Um,
remember the Snow White's sequence. They showed. I watched the video on that.
and another great thing you can see, which is cheating on itself, you could consider cheating, is there are a lot of dances. Like if you look at Baloo dancing in the Jungle King, and then watch some scenes from the Robin Hood movie later on, they literally the dances are exactly the same and they're traced.
I
So they're just copied
remember.
and new characters put on.
I remember young me, in the '80s, watching music videos and watching Aha's "Take on Me" video, and young me going, "Wow, amazing artwork! How did they do
Yep.
this?" Then when you find out about rotoscoping, and when you get older, you go, "Hey, that's cheating." That was my
And
that was my first reaction.
I'll tell you, I mean, when I've worked in studios, we rotoscope stuff for sure. And the rule I say is sort of the same with photographs in that when you're at that level, and it's if you videotaped it yourself, there's no reason you can't rotoscope it,
Yes, and
and
again,
that's
what
where it
you
is.
I think it's we're gonna get debates on this. For me, I think it's like, yeah, you take your own references, you take your own things, and what you do with it at the end, change it to your style, and like you said, as long as it doesn't stand out as, hey, what the hell happened on this page,
Exactly.
as long as you blend it in and it's hard to tell, who cares,
Yep.
honestly. And I'm sure
Yeah.
if we talk to a lot of comic artists, they're gonna tell us stories about how they cut corners, if you want to call it that, cut corners to get the work produced. And how many times have you sat around on a page going, this angle's not coming out right, this is not coming out right.
Yep.
And you erase, and at times rip the page apart.
Yeah. And I know a bunch of artists that draw like cars and trucks and stuff, and you see their stuff and you think, there's no way that's not a photograph. Like, there's just no way that you sat there and got the perspective lines absolutely perfect
but
to,
then
to, to
again,
make that.
there's some artists who could draw a perfect motorcycle. Meanwhile, the figure beside it looks so bad. You know.
It's it's true. It's true. But I think people would be surprised how much reference material is used, how much tracing is done,
Oh
and
yeah.
how much sort of like and tracing like light tracing, like it's just to get the perspective right, not necessarily to get every detail or anything like that, but like just to get like the perspective or the
So
basic thing, like how often that happens.
So mentioning that in Clip Studio Paint, there's old school mannequin models. You have digital versions of them, and
Hmm.
you could manipulate them, move them around like the hands and stuff like that. And the new version I downloaded, supposedly, if you have your hand like if you have the model on the screen, you could go like this with your camera, and you can move the model around and move
Interesting.
the hand around. And there's a perspective tool also that I use a lot, honestly. The perspective has 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspective.
So the question then is this even cheating?
That's, again, yes. By technical rules, yes.
Like if you
But
consider using your Clip Studio Paint mannequin to be cheating, then the very fact that this guy
yeah,
exists
that's what I mean.
is
That's,
cheating too.
yes. It goes back to the old school thinking. You should be using a real life model. Like what's his name? Rockwell did.
Yeah, yeah. It's so it's. I think what we've come to, maybe a safe conclusion we've come to, is new technology can often be considered cheating if the people who, if the people who see the art don't know you're using it and they find out, it's a little bit like learning a magic trick. So there's a bit of disappointment,
That's it. Yes. But the
and
bottom. Oh, sorry.
whether
Continue.
it's cheating or not doesn't really matter. But it's the fact that the people know how you did it sometimes makes it cheating.
Yeah,
You know?
I think you said it best. It's like the magic trick. You're so
Yeah.
impressed until you know how it's done.
Yeah, until you realize that it's just like, whether it's tracing, whether it's just,
Then,
people ask me how you do comic book pages or like detail, when I do some detailed drawings, like, how did you do that? I'm like, I literally sat there for 10 hours and did it.
but then again, you know what? As soon as you find out how that person did it, you're going. It's not, it's again, like you said, the magic trick part. But then again, you're still wondering how they, how certain things and stuff. But here's the thing: the bottom line is, let's say this tool here, you know, you know, way I use this and what I produce in the end, that should matter. It shouldn't matter, from this to the paper or computer and stuff like that. What's happening? Its bottom line is
Yeah.
what the end result is, and are you satisfied with it? But then again,
I would,
it's don't be a lazy artist. That's the thing.
yeah, when I was in animation, my boss at one point, had some photographs I was working on, and I tried to, I spent so much time setting up my lighting for these photographs and everything like that, and I was doing these artsy photographs, and I showed him one, and he looked at it, and he goes, "Oh, there's like a little hair there," and I was like, I spent so much time, and I missed that tiny little hair, and then he's like, "Just Photoshop it out." I'm like, "But isn't that cheating?" And then he's like, "But it makes the picture good." And when it comes down to it, what you want is a good end result. Whatever tactic you use to make it good at the end and make it pleasing
Now,
to the person who wants to see
see,
it, that's
you
the important
you
part.
you open the Pandora's box type of approach to this, where we could go on and on about talk about the good and the evils of cheating. You
Yeah,
know, and the wrong. I think the word cheating just has a bad taboo to it, and
yeah,
again, you know, depends on who you ask. You could ask the artist. I mean, you could ask your wife, and she'll tell you, yeah, that's cheating. I could ask my wife, and she goes, keep doing what you're doing. So
yeah.
it it's
I think
like,
the only cheating, I think the only thing we could totally agree is cheating is copyright infringement.
yes, yes, and total swipe of an artist. Which I've seen in comics where they're just tracing other people's artwork. And you know what?
Yeah,
And honestly, I'm just a big no on that. Like you said about the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man pose. Draw your own version of it. Don't trace Todd McFarlane. And
unless you're doing an homage.
no, even a homage. Sometimes, I would say try and draw it in your own style. But I've seen comic artists swipe panels and stuff and things like that, and it just, that's a big no.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. Those are two things, basically copyright infringement and or stealing art and just not making it your own. That's
That's
not
it.
cool.
Yes, no, that's not cool. Well, let's
But
end it
everything
on that.
else is
Let's
open game.
Yeah, let's end it on that, because otherwise we'll be talking away for hours and hours on, this will be another episode. We need to do another episode on this.
Yeah, we need to find if anybody knows if anybody's ever been accused of cheating that's watching this. Let us know what you were caught cheating doing.
That's perfect. Yes, please let us know.
Yeah. So,
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again next time. Chris, goodbye, and we'll talk later.
bye.